Hello and welcome to Back at Camp, Mojave County's only outdoor television show. I'm your host, Don Martin, and with me today is Heather Hyman. She is going to talk to us about a mountain lion study that is going on in the Black Mountains west of Kingman. Going to be a great show. You're going to learn how to find mountain lions in the Black Mountains and what the impact is on the bighorn sheep herd there. So don't go away. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Back at Camp. I'd like to introduce you to Heather Hyman. She is a wildlife technician for the Arizona Game and Fish Department out here in Region 3. And we have a heck of a show for you today. You're going to learn about a study that the Arizona Game and Fish Department is doing in the Black Mountains to learn about the mountain lion bighorn sheep relationship. And Heather is going to tell you what her findings are, how many mountain lions she thinks are in the Black Mountains based upon her observations, and how she does her study. It's going to be a great show, so let's get right into it. Heather, give me a little background about yourself. How'd you get here?
I initially, from Wisconsin, I did tracking up there with wolves and other carnivores for approximately 3 years or so before I graduated with my wildlife ecology degree.
Okay.
Upon graduation, I had done 2 internships already down here with the Game and Fish, one in 2009 and one in 2011.
And what were your internships on here?
They were in black-footed ferrets,
Okay.
actually, another version of a predator.
There you go.
And I did that both summers, and then in 2011, Aaron Butler was able to take me on as initially an intern and then later as a technician with my background in tracking and whatnot.
Okay. And again, that was due to your work back in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it had helped that I had background in identifying tracks of different carnivores and whatnot, and so it was natural to transition
You work
on
with
over.
wolves back there?
I did. I helped them do population studies on those and give accounts in the different areas.
So these big carnivores like wolves and mountain lions, this is something that you've worked with quite a bit.
Oh yeah, it's kind of
Okay.
always been a passion of mine throughout the years. So
Okay. Now Erin Butler, she's our game specialist out here at Region 3. So she hired you on first as an intern.
Yep.
And then she put you in as this wildlife technician. And what were your job assignment? What did she want you to do?
I was given the task. I was given the entire Black Mountain area and asked to determine mountain lions in terms of the number and the sex of the different mountain lions throughout the range.
Okay.
We kind of wanted to know the impact that they had on the sheep, and so I talked with our research branch down in Phoenix, and we determined that the best way to go about it would be to do block systems throughout
Okay.
there, and then do transects throughout there in the different blocks, figuring out, where exactly the mountain lion signs are and what number there is overall.
Okay. Now, just so people understand where the Black Mountains are, we're talking about the mountain range in western Mojave County
Yep.
that extends from Lake Mead to the north,
Yep.
15B west, and you're all the way down to the bottom, which is basically I-40 to the south.
Yep, down by Needles there.
Okay, so that's the area where you've been working. There's 4 game management units in there. There's 15D, 15C south, 15C north, and 15B west.
Oh yeah, it's quite
So,
an extensive area.
Yeah, you've got a huge area that you did. Now, exactly how did you go about setting this all up? I mean, that's thousands of acres, big mountains, rugged country, mountain lions by nature, very reclusive.
Yes.
They're not like antelope that stand out on the side of the road and look at you. So you got your work cut out. So how did you figure out what you were going to do out there?
I started to look at different studies, and so initially we determined with the blocks, we determined them to be a size of 25 square kilometers. That's known to be the smallest possible mountain lion range. Here in the blacks, they're probably much larger than that, but it was a good starting point.
Right, because I think I know in the past I've heard that for males that their home range could take in as much as 100 miles.
Oh yeah.
While the queen's much smaller, maybe 25 miles.
Yep, that's pretty accurate too.
Is that pretty much?
Yes.
Okay, because that's just what I've been told as a guide, that when it comes to mountain lions, this is what you look for, that those toms are much far ranging.
Oh yeah, and
the
on
queens
occasion
tend to stay a little closer to home.
Oh yeah, and you can see a little bit of overlap sometime with males and females home ranges, but never with multiple males. You won't see that. So after doing the blocks, we ended up having to figure out where within those blocks I was going to survey. And so I looked up different studies and found that mountain lions like to use the higher slopes, so 50% or greater slope. And I started to look for prominent washes through those slope classes. And the first time that I went out using this system was when I found the scat that actually is in front of us here.
Oh, wow.
So it was neat to see that right off the bat, by just setting up it the way I did, that it worked instantly.
Okay. Now, we have to clarify this. And this is kind of a crappy part of the show, but here's what happens. Her job is to go out and to pick up the droppings of these various carnivores, and she's going to show us what these are, including mountain lion, bobcat, and coyote. Mm-hmm. So, you know, she has to know what this is, and when she's talking about where she's going, the washes in the desert are like highways.
Oh, they are.
All animals tend to use washes for travel corridors and to get from one mountain range to another. So knowing this information, then you started to kind of zero in on areas that had the potential to have lion sign. Then you actually got in there and you had to be able to identify not only the droppings but the tracks.
Yeah.
And in the case of the lions, you had to be able to identify the scratches and explain to people that don't know what a lion scratch is. What is that?
Yeah, think of it kind of like your house cat. If you ever see your house cat and he'll stretch out, he takes his paws up in the air and just kind of pulls them down. It's the same kind of concept with the mountain lion. So if you came across an area in the desert and you figure about the size of your fist is about probably the size of an average mountain lion paw, and you see these super long scrapings, maybe about 2-3 feet long, in excess maybe 4 at the most. That would be a typical scraping that you'd see.
And what are they doing?
It's kind of just a way to mark their territory. Okay. So you'll see it in the washes. I've seen it before. They'll use it to cover up scat. So it's kind of similar, like I said, that what you'd see with your house cat kind of doing.
So they're, in a lot of ways, they're kind of like giant house cats.
They are.
I mean, in what they, and the way they act and you know what they do and doing the scratching and the covering up of the scat. You know, they obviously don't have a litter box,
yes.
but they use the desert.
That's right.
So that's where you're kind of focusing, but there's thousands of acres out there, and to be able to just isolate and find even where one lion has been, pretty daunting task.
Oh, it's like a needle in a haystack on many times, and it's half of it is experience and half of it is luck.
Right.
You have to be in the right place at the right time, and so we know that our best odds are in those locations, and so that's all I can do is spend about 4 hours, and it seems to be pretty successful so far since overlaying the slope class compared to before that when I didn't. Mm-hmm. The success rate of me actually finding tracks in scat has increased.
You ever seen one out there?
I wish. I have not. I often get asked, do I carry some type of protective device? And they're very, like you said in the beginning, very elusive. And so one of these days,
I think most people, as far as mountain lion human interactions, I think the mountain lions are, under most situations, are more afraid of you than you are of them, and they're not going to bother you, even if you're in their area. They're going to be more likely to just move away.
Exactly, very much so.
So from a public safety issue, I think a message to the public out there is don't be afraid to go walking around, hiking in the Black Mountains. We're going to see there are mountain lions out there, but the odds of someone being attacked by themselves would be pretty slim. Now, if they're bringing along dogs,
yes,
on leashes, to a mountain lion, a dog on a leash just looks like a meal.
Yeah, and I mean, your presence alone usually will deter them even in that situation.
Right.
So. But
that would probably be, if there was such a thing as a bad situation for you, that would be if you're dragging along a meal net.
Yeah.
But more than likely, they're going to wait till you're not around, and then they're going to take something.
Exactly.
Now, what have you found out there? Let's start with each unit. 15B West is identified as the east side of Highway 93,
yep,
south of Hoover Dam, or at Hoover Dam, and
yep,
wraps around north towards Temple Bar.
Yep.
What have you found up there in that unit?
Out in there, I've actually found, as you can see on the paper, we have found 8 different mountain lion scats. Those are in 4 different blocks, so each of those different blocks some contain multiple samples.
Okay.
And then in regards to tracks, I found 11 different tracks in B West in 5 separate blocks.
Okay. So you got an estimation how many lions you think are actually up in B West?
I would approximate probably about 2, maybe 3 at the most.
Okay. And since this is a kind of a study to look at sheep, big desert bighorn sheep, which are arguably our premier native animal here, what impact, if any, are you seeing with mountain lions in that area?
Well, that's part of the thing that we're kind of studying. We have collared some sheep up there, kind of with the Highway 93 project as well. And so far we've found a couple different kill sites of sheep. But overall, I think if the sheep population is high enough, they have a minimal impact on them.
And what else do the lions up there eat? What have you been able to determine they eat?
That's something we're still waiting for. That's the great benefit of scat. You know, I found some scats that had bobcat claws in them. Oh. So that cat unfortunately was in the wrong area. They've been known to eat rabbits on occasion and small rodents, so it'll be really interesting once we're able to do the diet analysis.
Very few deer in the Black Mountains, especially in the north end.
Yes.
So their diet has to be what's there.
Exactly.
So and what about burros? We hear a lot about burros. Do they take burros?
Not typically, but it's something that we're looking into. You know, young burros or even young cows, because there's cows up in the area too grazing. So it'd be interesting to see, but with regards to burros, they tend to be a more high-risk prey species compared to the sheep.
Okay.
Better kicks.
Yeah, they can defend themselves a little better than sheep can.
Yeah.
Look, we're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to talk to Heather some more about what she has found on this study in these various units in western part of Mojave County. Great show today. It's very interesting for me personally. So don't go away. We're going to be right back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Back at Camp. I'm your host, Don Martin, and with me today is Heather Hyman, and she's telling us about the mountain lion study in the Blacks. Now, Heather, on your maps, and we have 2 maps that you provided, and specifically in B West, which is that area again from Hoover Dam east over to Temple Bar. We see that you have pink tabs on there. What are those pink tabs on the maps?
The pink tabs signify areas that I've actually hiked in already and done the 4 hours worth of hiking in those washes.
Okay, and the X's?
The X's signify places where I found either tracks, scats, scrapings, or in some cases, kill sites. Okay,
and you've noted on there it says kill site. This is a kill that it was made by a mountain lion. And typically, what are the kill sites? What have you found there? What animals?
Typically sheep so far.
Okay.
So far we've predominantly found sheep. I have not found any burrow, and stuff like rabbits or smaller you wouldn't see kind of kill
You're probably
site.
not going to see too much of it. And the thing is, I mean, in that particular area, we know that I've only seen mule deer once in 15B West, and that was a long time ago. So, and even though I think in the past, mule deer have been identified as the #1 prey species of mountain lions throughout the West, but there's no mule deer there to speak of, so they obviously to survive, they've got to take what's there, which means the sheep and basically the small game stuff.
Yep.
Okay. Now, let's move down the river. We're going to come down a little further on the map. We're going to get into 15C North. Yep. 15C North is bounded by the west of Highway 93 down to the Cottonwood Road.
Yep.
And that's known as 15C North. What have you found in 15C North?
In 15C North, I found once again about 8 scat samples.
Okay.
Those were in another 4 blocks, so you can figure that was 4 individual spots that I found them.
Okay.
There was another 10 tracks that I found throughout there, and those may have overlapped with the scat locations as well. And those were found in 5 separate blocks.
Okay. And did you find any kill sites there?
In C North, I actually have found 1 kill site so far.
Okay.
And it was located near Willow Beach area.
Okay. Now, based upon what you've seen so far, and I understand this is a lot of preliminary stuff, but you said you thought there was maybe a couple lions up in B West. Would those lions typically, wander down into C North, which is just below that unit, and would they hunt down there?
They definitely could. Now with the washes that they have underneath the Highway 93 there, that's a good travel corridor for them.
Okay.
So it's highly possible that they could.
And through the study, through the scat study, though, you'll be able to tell through DNA if that lion that you got scat from in B West was down in C North.
Exactly, which is a great thing because you can look at tracks and you can look at sign of them, and unless you have a DNA, you can't really say one way or the other.
Right.
With lions' big home ranges.
Now the department also has put out some trail cameras out there at water sites and whatnot to take pictures of what is actually using that, both bighorn sheep, deer, small game, predators, but they also have got pictures of mountain lions out there.
That's true, yeah. This last summer we caught one in C South, and that's the first one that we've caught on camera within the blacks in a long time.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. We also did see one in the helicopter survey during the sheep flight this past year in C South, which appeared to be a different individual based upon size. Seemed to be a larger male. And then I also caught one at a kill site coming back.
Wow. And so you actually found a kill site that was fairly fresh?
Yeah, with the new GPS collars that we got to put out, you're able to get on them a lot faster. And so that'll help us, you know. We got out within 3 days or so, and it was still covered up. I was out there, you know, I put up the camera, took the collar from it, and never got to see that one either.
but obviously he was there.
Yes. So
and you could get some scat samples nearby?
I did. So it'll be good. It'll be great to see.
Sure. So, in moving down, further down the Colorado River in the Blacks from Cottonwood Road, which if folks don't know where that's at, Cottonwood Road is located a few miles south of Dolan Springs and runs west to the river. 15C south, the northern boundary is the Cottonwood Road, and the other boundary is Highway 68 on your way to Laughlin.
That's right.
North of that. So what have you found in that unit?
In 15C South, we found one mountain lion scat so far, not as many as you would expect due to the fact there's a lower sheep population there. And we've also found 4 tracks and no scrapes so far.
Pre-saturation.
Okay.
So 15D. The numbers
15D,
are so high.
that's our premier sheep unit in probably northwest Arizona.
So in areas
what have you found down there? Well, let me just go. The boundaries of 15D are Highway 68 to the north and basically I-40 to the south.
Yep.
Okay, so what have you found there?
In 15D, we've actually only found about 7 tracks and 1 scrape, so not nearly as much as you'd think.
When you consider that there's a tremendous sheep population in 15D.
Oh, the
excess.
So that's where I found
have lots of prey opportunities.
Yeah.
But yet doesn't appear to be, at least from what you found so far, a lot of lions.
Correct. So, I mean, they have the potential of being up in those really high, like by Mount Nut, you know, way up on top,
which would be pretty hard to find.
Yes. Grab my mountain climbing gear.
Yeah. Now, when you're out there, and like I say, you're making these hikes, typically how far do you go in a day?
Typically, I will hike for 4 hours, and within those 4 hours, I can get anywhere from 5 to 8 miles in a day. And so, depending on the area, we can make either a loop, which is what I typically try to do. I focus on both the washes and then saddles and ridges a little bit too.
Right.
And yeah, try and make a loop if I can. If not, then hike the washes on opposite sides and gain different slope areas.
Obviously when you're out there, you're looking at the water sites because water is one of the things that's needed by all wildlife to survive in the desert. Do you see more sign around the water than say you see in dispersed areas?
I haven't really seen a difference. I try to go in washes that will lead to water eventually, but when it comes to looking at the actual water sites, I haven't found as many tracks right on top of the water as I have surrounding.
Another thing, when you're out there hiking around, you obviously see wildlife.
Yes.
What would you typically see?
Oh boy, I typically see sheep. I will get stared down by sheep often, and they wonder what I'm doing. I'm wondering what they're doing. I'm sure they laugh at my hiking abilities with how agile they are. I've seen burros. They will voice their opinion to me as well. I've seen wild horses. I've seen coyotes take off before, different raptors and bird species. So you get a little bit of everything out there.
You see quail?
Yes. I've got to talk to different quail hunters in the past just from being out there and seeing the different coveys.
So you get to see a lot of wildlife when you're out in the Black Mountains, and even though it is a rugged range, there is a lot of wildlife to be seen.
Oh, there is. If you've never been out there, the Black Mountains is a gorgeous place to go hiking with lots of neat little caves and different things that you can see that you wouldn't think that you could in the rugged mountains.
You ever find petroglyphs out there?
I have. I've seen a couple. So
yeah, there's a number of Indian sites up there that when we've been sheep hunting in the past that we found that we've been able to see in some of the areas that the Lake Mead National Recreation identify as having petroglyphs and other Indian artifacts up there. It's a tremendously high value, not only from a scenic standpoint, but from a wildlife standpoint, and understanding that there's different management agencies involved in the Black Mountains. You got the Lake Mead National Recreation Area, you got the Bureau of Land Management, and then you got you folks that are managing the wildlife up there. So what do you think as far as the study? Is there a time limit that you're working on this? Do we have a sunset thing on this, or is this something that's going to be ongoing for a while? We
hope to, if funding prevails over the years, we hope to do it on a yearly basis, and every year go back and resurvey the blocks and see if the mountain lions are persisting in an area, if maybe they were just traveling through, and then get an idea if they're the same lions, and maybe if they begin reproducing, that type of stuff.
Right. Now, you mentioned something about there's a larger study involving possible the lions along the Colorado River that's being done all the way down to Yuma.
Oh, yeah.
So you're trying to find out if there's an interaction between these groups and these lions, or what they're doing?
Yeah, Ashwin Naidu has been doing studies on the genetics, and he's been able to isolate where the lions are actually coming from, so their origination. So whether that's Nevada or Utah or California. And so we're hoping to maybe do something with him as well and get an idea of where they're coming from.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned Nevada, Utah, and California. Wait a minute. There's a big thing called the Colorado River between those states. How do those lions get across?
I'm not sure, but I believe that they can. Whether it's different land areas, I'm sure they are more than capable of swimming. It's been shown before.
Sure. So, well, we know I've got pictures of sheep swimming across Colorado River. So if the sheep can swim, I assume that lions can swim across there. So that's kind of interesting, though, that a lion standing over in Nevada looks across and says, I think I'm going to swim across this river and go to Arizona for a while. So interesting to see that kind of, maybe those lions are related across through there. So.
Exactly.
So real quick here before we run out of time.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us what this is. Tell us what people are looking at right here.
So this first one here up front is actually coyote.
Okay.
So you'll notice that it's not really segmented. In addition to hair, you'll see stuff like grass or seeds and berries. This one I picked specifically because a piece of sheep poop. That's something you would never find in a bobcat or a mountain lion's diet.
Right.
The second one in back here, this is a bobcat. You can tell, compared to the coyote, you see these segments in it.
Right.
It almost looks...
This is what she's talking about right there.
Yeah, almost like a little line down, and it will chunk off real easily. And then also, if you look at the content, you'll find pretty much all hair and bones. You wouldn't find stuff like grasses and berries and other
So they're true
animals.
meat eaters. These guys are omnivores. They eat everything.
Exactly. And then when it comes to bobcats versus mountain lions, size is a big thing.
Okay.
So you can see, this is the size difference. This is one segment, and this is two here. So if we put these two together, just the pure size difference between the two is huge. But yeah, you'll see mountain lions too, compared to, say, your dog, like a big dog species. You'll find the segments in it, and it'll be all hair. You won't find other stuff in it.
Cool. Folks, hard to believe, huh, that we're doing studies on this, but it's much needed. Take your glove off. Heather, thank you so much.
Thank
Folks,
you.
This has been one of the most interesting shows that I've had the pleasure of doing, and I want to thank Heather for coming down here and sharing this information with us. Remember, it's a great place to go out and hike. Don't worry about it. You're not going to be attacked. Okay, until next week, this is your host, Don Martin, saying keep your fishing line fresh, firearms oiled, and we'll see you next week back at camp.